Morning.
If you've got a question for Steve, go ahead and use the raise hand tool. Connor O'Neill, you're up first.
Hey, Steve. It's like on Saturday, you mentioned not talking about net, resume, etc. You mentioned that a couple times after games this year, but the pressure's still mounting on this team a little bit. Do you change your approach in that regard and talk about it, or status quo there?
Nope. Status quo. Georgia Tech.
If what's the put the pieces back together process from last week going into this new one?
I don't think this week's any different than when we came off Virginia and Duke. Back to business. We lost to them on the road back to back. Tough games. We lost a couple tough games this past week. Same thing on Sunday. 40 minutes of film, 20 minutes on the court. Hour and a half today, hour tomorrow, and get ready to play. The biggest message I gave to the team last night was 34-31. That was the score in the second half of Georgia Tech. And so we're going to concentrate on that.
Thanks, Steve.
Cameron Lemons-Dubrow, go ahead, sir.
Steve, morning. Just kind of piggybacking off that, does it get kind of, emotionally draining a little bit because you've kind of been through the situation? We've lost a couple on the road and then come back home and kind of got seasons on the line, but have to win to be where you want to be. Does that get draining? And what is that conversation like with the team?
That's not a conversation that we have. So it's not draining because it's not something that ever comes up in that room. Now, that doesn't mean that, listen, I understand you guys got to create narratives. That's fine. I mean, that's your job, but that's not one that I use with the team. Now they live in the real world, Cam. They got phones, they got social media, I suppose. So they probably look at it, but that's part of blocking out the noise. Same for me. I stay off that stuff. I haven't been on social media much since before the Duke game, maybe a little bit, but not much. So that the pressure thing that you're talking about, I don't talk to them about that.
Go next to Mike Barber.
Hey, Steve. Obviously, you guys do need to play well down the stretch here to get yourself in position for where you want to be. As you look at Georgia Tech, what are some of the keys with them, and how better have those freshmen gotten as the season's gone on?
Well, they're like a lot of these good freshmen in the league. They've gotten better and better, Mike. I think they're a little bit like when we caught Notre Dame last week. I think Georgia Tech's won 3 of their last 4. They also have 3 wins over Duke, Carolina, and Clemson. So they're obviously a very dangerous team. I think Damian's done obviously a really good job with them. They got a really good freshman point guard that can really get in the lane. Miles Kelly can score it. The bigs are good. They're young. They're athletic. It's not going to be an easy game. They've continued to rise, as the season has progressed. And so, you got to throw out this, like I said, the score, is, obviously we won by a lot of points down there, but if you look at the second half, it was a really close game. And that's, I think, the way we got to look at it.
Talking about that first meeting, I know teams change as the year goes, everything's different, but are there some things in that game that kind of stand out to you as, hey, bottle that, keep that, let's do that again?
No question. I mean, comparatively speaking, if you look at the way we defended in the entire game compared to how we defended in the second half at Virginia Tech, it's night and day. I mean, it was disgusting what we did in the second half on Saturday compared to that, where we were completely connected, locked in on what we were doing. And they had a really hard time scoring, and we rebounded the ball, and we didn't turn it over. And so, I mean, we played very well defensively against Georgia Tech, and it showed, especially in the first half. And so, that was something that we looked at yesterday. We watched 40 minutes of film. When you're looking at what you just did on Saturday compared to what you just did a couple of weeks ago, like, what are we doing? And so, I do think that helps.
Thank you.
I'll go back to Connor O'Neill.
Steve's kind of the first bad week, I think, of Hunter's season, or at least the first bad one in a long time. Any concern level there, or is he just need to get back to who he was before last week?
Got in foul trouble on Saturday. We had to sit him a lot in the first half. That had a lot to do with that. I mean, you go through it. There's going to be a game or two where, and you get game plan for, and you're at the top of the scouting report, and you have to deal with it, and, Notre Dame did a good job of being physical with him, and, didn't play great, but didn't play terrible. And then, yesterday, like I said, he got off to a slow start because, he had to go to the bench. His first foul wasn't his fault. It was a defensive breakdown by somebody else that caused him to catch a foul. And so, no, I'm not. Hunter puts the work in, guys. I mean, Hunter's in that gym every day at 8 a.m., 7 days a week, working out on his own or with the coach. And so I think in basketball, you get what you deserve. And so, I'm not concerned about that. I mean, I think sometimes I've said this before, and he's seen it this year, is when you've just been a person on the scouting report to being the top of the scouting report, it's a little bit different role, and so, I'm sure he'll bounce back.
I'll go to John Dell. Go ahead, John.
Steve, do you feel a little bit more comfortable with the last two home games at home, or are you never comfortable when it comes to that?
No, I mean, I'm not comfortable as far as the teams. I mean, I know any of these teams can come in here and win. We've played a lot. We've played some close games here this year. I mean, I'm not comfortable in that respect. Comfortable that we don't have to travel, and the routine is a little easier at home. And then obviously we have our fans, and so I think that that really helps. But I'm not one to get comfortable by no means, especially this time of year. And when we talk about pressure, I just think the pressure is you just have to win the next game. You start talking about you got to win this game, that game, you got to win this many games. You just have to win the one in front of you. I haven't checked lately, but I'm sure our metrics are pretty good. And those are Ken Palm and Ned are the two leading determining factors in determining the seeding in the tournament. So I don't know how much more or little they're going to move. It's really winning. You just got to win games, and so that's what the focus is to win against Georgia Tech. And then when that game's over, we'll focus on the next game. And when that game's over, we'll focus on the next game. And so there's so many other things you can't really control. And it's just going to really, it just muddies the water. So I just staying out of it, and the players are staying out of it. But I do think there's a certain comfort level, obviously for us, playing at home, since we haven't lost at home this year.
Let's go back to Cam. Go ahead, Cam.
Steve, you've mentioned a few times that, the offense and defense have been pretty connected when shots aren't going in. The defense kind of just doesn't do on the other side. I mean, it's the end of the year at this point, but what if that doesn't happen on Tuesday or Saturday? What's kind of the message of getting guys to really just buy in for the next couple of games?
That hasn't been the message at home. That hasn't happened. So that we'll see. I don't know. See if it happens, but every game's different. I can't make up scenarios. Okay, we'll see what happens, and the message will be whatever that situation arises.
All right. Last question will come from David Teal.
Steve, over the last 5 games, I believe Efton is averaging like 13 and 8. Is he getting better as the season goes on?
Yeah, David. I mean, I think we're doing a better job of probably getting him the ball, in spots where he can score. And that, yeah, I think that, this is, again, he hasn't played, he just started playing, in December. And so I think it's a combination of him getting better and us doing a better job of probably finding him, taking advantage of some matchups. He had good numbers Saturday, even though I thought, he had a travel at the basket that should have been a dunk, had a couple post moves around the basket that should have been baskets. But I do think he is getting better, and that's helping our team. because he is a low post threat.
Steve, thank you for the time today and all season. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.